Welcome to Transforming the Toddler Years, a Core 4 parenting podcast blending soul and science-based strategies to empower pandemic moms like you, raising kindergarten-ready kids. I'm Cara Tyrrell, your host, a lifetime lover of littles, girl mom, early childhood educator, and conscious parenting coach who truly believes that how we connect and collaborate with our kids in the first 5 years is how we raise world-ready kids who will change this world. But before we dive in, I would love if you could do me a favor. Could you scroll on down, rate the show after you listen, and leave a review, ask a question, suggest a topic. This will help me know how to better serve you, who to bring in. It will also help friends find us, other moms who need to be hearing what we're talking about together. Welcome back to the Transforming the Toddler Years podcast. Today's question is so juicy. It's about hearing, listening, and behaving. And I'm going to break it down for you because they are not all the same thing, not even close. So recently, I posted a reel that said, if you want your child to listen to you, do this first. Have them look at you. And the reason I did that is because eye contact engages a totally different part of the brain and it connects you to the other person. It opens you up to be receptive to what is about to be said to you. Because if you're just talking at your kids as they're moving all around you, it's very easy for them to tune it out. It's very easy for them, especially if they're an older toddler, to know that if they don't engage with you, they're not responsible really for what you're asking. And then what happens? You become that background noise. You get louder. They still don't do it. You get louder. And all of a sudden you are the teacher from Charlie Brown, wah, 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 wah-ing in the background, right? And then nothing gets done because the power struggle has begun. And inevitably there's either a because I said so or a meltdown or both. So this dad said, okay, I get this. I ask them to look at me and they do. And then as soon as I start to talk, they turn away again. What little stinkers, right? What does that show you? What does that show you? It shows that they know that if they maintain eye contact, that they are responsible for listening to what you're saying and further responsible for making a choice to either do it or not. And so by breaking that eye gaze, they're saying, I guess I don't have to. Smart. They are tiny little negotiators and interpersonal wranglers from their earliest years. So what do? Well, let's unpack this first, because I feel like as parents, we use the words hearing, listening, and behaving very interchangeably, and they are not at all the same thing. They're not even really in the same category. A child can hear you, assuming that they have perfect hearing. They will always hear you. The words you produce, the sounds you make, the directions you're giving, the requests that you're asking, enter the ear canal, and they can hear you. Listening is an entirely different process. Listening means attending to what you heard, paying attention to the words that came through that ear canal and processing them with the intention of responding back, either through talking back to you or showing you that they heard and listened by doing the behavior that you asked them to do. Is that landing? It's kind of a lot. But let's take a really simple example of, because this is called receptive language development, receptive language that comes in. We're not asking anything of them right now. It's input. So let's take a really simple example of, let's say, an 18-month-old who's not really talking yet. And you say, Joey, go get your shoes, please. We're going to go outside. What can your 18-month-old do? with that information. They heard it, they listened and processed. And then you see these little feet toddling over to the drawer by the door, opening the drawer, scanning what's in there, picking out their actual shoes and bringing them back to you. That's receptive language in action. All three components were met. He heard you, he listened to what he heard, and then made a plan of action based on what you asked him to do. Behavior met. Expectation met. It's when there's a breakdown somewhere in that 3 steps that we say, oh, they're not listening. They might be listening, but choosing not to make that plan of action to meet the behavior. Oh, they just don't hear me. Oh, they hear you, but they might not be listening. I mean, isn't this just so much? So much. It's like playing a game of chicken all day long. And this is exactly how this dad described it. They look at me. I start to talk. They look away. I get their attention again. I start to talk. They look away again. And we go in a circle over and over and over. At that point, you're going to need a new strategy. Strategies are only effective if they work, which sounds like maybe the simplest thing I've ever said in the whole wide world, but it's true. The same strategy might not work forever. And it depends on where your child is developmentally and cognitively. The little person who really just needs you to get their attention, focus their eyes on you so that they can hear and listen to what you're saying, that's going to work until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, you're going to need a new strategy. And that's going to depend very much on who your children are, what the environment is, what situation you are in, and what the outcome is that you're looking for. And that's where my collaborative parenting methodology comes in, because there's not always the perfect strategy to pull out of our back pocket. Should there be? We are growing little human beings that have ideas of their own, that are learning how to problem solve. And so if we have a problem, they're not hearing, listening, or behaving, they should get to be part of the problem solving process with us. And I know how some of you might just be going like, what? But I'm the one that gave the direction. If you dig in your heels, that you have, right? Think of a time you've dug in your heels and been like, they tell me to draw the line, so I draw the line. They tell me not to break the line, so I don't break the line. Then what happened? Your child dug in their heels and they're like, I'm not going over that line. And now there's a very deep rut. This line in the sand has become a very deep rut, and it's become the source of your power struggle. But if the two of you can hop into that middle ground together and connect about the issue and each have ideas on how you can solve it and try it, you are empowering them to be part of the solution. And that's where the magic happens. If you're not familiar with my collaborative parenting methodology, then reach out. Something I can share with you. There's certainly episodes about it. It's all over the website and you can read about it. It's also part of my 6-week course that I teach that opens 3 times a year. And it's the foundational component of everything I do here at Core 4 Parenting, raising world-ready kids who are going to change the world. So I hope this has been helpful to differentiate for you hearing versus listening versus behaving, and how the 3 have to work in unison, and how your child has to be part of the buy-in process for that to be true. As always, I would be so grateful if you could rate and review the show. Hearing from you means that I'm on the right track. Hearing from you means I know what questions need answering. So thank you for being an active and dedicated listener. Share this show with your friends and other fellow conscious mamas. Make sure that if you're getting value out of it, you let someone else get value out of it too. Exciting news. I wrote you a book, an ebook, and I recorded the audio version for you as well, because you are busy multitasking, mindful mamas. Grab your copy today of the Pandemic Mom's Guide to Preschool Readiness and anchor into the 5 executive functioning skills that your child needs to practice on the daily using you as a guide. It's so easy to do. I've built it so that it just naturally happens inside your day as you interact with your kids. And yes, each chapter is delivered to you 1 chapter a day to your email so that all you have to do is click and listen for a few minutes. It's easy, it's efficient, and it's effective. Let's raise some school and world ready kids. Just go to caratyrrell.com/ebook. That's Cara Tyrrell, TYRRELL.com/ebook and grab your copy of the Pandemic Mom's Preschool Readiness Guide today. Until our next episode, stay mindful and proactive as you transform the toddler years.